So you should be at your LCPS Go, and that's where you have all kinds of files that you normally access. There is one program there that you're going to access called Frame. It is a red cube with an F in it. And if you click on that, it'll open up. At the top, it says Nutanix. I don't know. All right. I noticed last block that there are some students who have something different. It might take a second to get loaded in. Since I did this last block, mine's going a lot quicker. Yours might be taking its sweet time. If it asks you for prompts and stuff, just keep clicking OK. I don't have an icon up here at the top. Mine says Art on the left-hand side. I had a student last block who had a couple options. I don't know if that's because she was at the academies or what the case may have been, but if yours does not say Art on the top left-hand side, you need to click the icon that might be here in the middle and change it to Art. So once you're here, you're going to click on Desktop, and that's going to start a session. And it's going to probably take a second because it's trying to open up and load a bunch of things. That's going to take a while. Now, with this program, you'll notice that it is going to be timed. I don't know what happens when things time out. It looks like it gives you an hour and a half. I don't know why. So it's just interesting. So when you open it up, it should already be connected to your Google Drive. I'm just going to go ahead and close this. And over here on the left-hand side, there we go. Adobe Creative Cloud, Adobe Illustrator, and Adobe Photoshop. So I'm going to click on Adobe Photoshop. Hands up if you have worked with Adobe Photoshop, the full program, before. All right, and you're pretty comfortable with it. Fantastic. If you have not, no big deal. Basically, the difference between Photoshop and Lightroom is what is your end goal. So Lightroom is all about, I would say, enhancement editing. Photoshop, you can really get into manipulation of images, you know, like it shows right here where you have that flamingo and that cloud and they're connected. So what you would want to do is get used to both and see which one it is that you like. All right. So I'm going to start off by doing my login with your school email address. Do not log in by hitting continue with Google. It's not going to give you the same stuff. You have to do your school email address. Now, what might happen as you're signing in, if a screen pops up and says you can only be logged into 2 devices at a time, and it shows you the other 2 devices that you're signed into, you can just click to sign out of one. See, like this. It's saying I am logged in to these 2 devices, but I can only be logged into 2 at a time. I'm trying to get in with a 3rd, so I'll just go ahead and sign out of that one. No big deal. Click continue. Okay. So when you're opening up Photoshop, you have 2 options. You can either create new or you can open. Creating new is going to give you a blank file. We hardly will ever work that way. We will almost always click open. Photoshop it's like a collage painting program. You work in layers. So things go on top of other things on top of other things. It's literally a collage. And this piece of artwork right here is a perfect example. They have one layer where it probably has her photo on it. One layer underneath of that is this circle, the orange to the yellow. And then on top of that are probably all of these floral elements as well. So unlike Lightroom, we work in layers. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click open. And then I'm going to find an image that I am going to edit. And I'm going to click on, I am probably going to have to choose somebody's artwork because I was not prepared by having like a piece of artwork of my own. So guess what, Adia? It's you. So now here's the thing. I basically am going to be editing a picture that has already been edited. So things might get a little askew a little quickly. This is not a raw, just shot it photo. This is something that Adia has already edited. So I'm going to double edit, and it's probably not going to be awesome, but I'm just going to show you how to work in Photoshop. So you'll notice what's different about using Frame is that Photoshop window program does not fill up the whole screen. It works within your oh my gosh, Internet Explorer screen. But it's still exactly the same. It looks exactly the same. It has all the same capabilities, which is fantastic. I'm so excited about this opportunity. Now, what you're looking at here, Photoshop, is basically the desktop. And you have in front of you a workspace. On the left, you have all of your tools down the side. This is your workspace in the center. And on the right, you have your windows. So again, left is the tools, center is your workspace, right is going to be your windows. Your tools will not change, but the tool that you really need to make sure you default to is your move tool. It's your save tool. It doesn't do anything. So as soon as you open up Photoshop, my suggestion is you hit that move tool, the very top one, to make sure that nothing crazy is going to potentially happen. Once you've got the move tool selected, you want to come over to your windows and you want to get the windows set up how you want them. Because right now it might default to your histogram and maybe characters and some other things that you're not going to use. We as photographers, there are specific windows that we're going to access and utilize more than we would others. So to change which windows you have open, you come here to the top menu, you click the word window. These are all of your window options, but rather than going through and clicking on the ones you think you're going to need, if you come up to the word workspace and you come over to photography and you click on that, it will choose the windows that photography is most often going to use. Mine did not change because I've already got it defaulted to that. So that's how you're going to get your workspace set up. All right, so I'm going to edit. In Lightroom, you have all of your adjustments open on the right-hand side, and you can go through an adjustment at a time. In Photoshop, you're going to do things a little bit differently. So my windows that are open right now are Navigator, Histogram, Adjustments, Libraries, and down here are Layers, Channels, and Paths. I use Navigator, Adjustments, and Layers. Why are all of these other things with it? That's just the way it is. When you invite Navigator to your party, it brings its friend Histogram. And when you invite Adjustments to the party, it brings its friend Libraries. When you invite Layers, you really, really like Layers. You kind of have a crush on Layers, and so you're really hoping Layers is going to come to your party. Well, in order for Layers to come to your party, it has to bring Channels and Paths with it, and so you're like, okay, I guess they can come, but you're not really going to talk to them or have any interactions with them. But you really like Layers, so sure, everybody can come. Why I say you like Layers so much is because this is the most important part of Photoshop. This is when I talk about this being a collage program. This is where that collage comes into play. Right now I have a layer called background. That's the image I opened up. It is locked, but I can still work on top of it. I can mess it up. So what I would suggest you do, I always suggest this and I always do this when I work in Photoshop, is I will duplicate this layer to make sure that whatever I do only affects the duplication. And so if I screw it up, I can delete the screw up, but it won't delete the original image. So I will duplicate this layer by right-clicking and duplicate layer, and a pop-up window. Background copy is what it's going to be called. Okay. So now I have two layers. 2 layers. This layer, the background copy, went on top, which means it's sitting on top. So if you had in front of you 2 photographs, this copy would be sitting on top of the original photograph. That's why you can't see the original photograph, because the copy is sitting directly on top. All right. So you're always going to make a background copy just to keep things really safe. the next thing you're going to do is let's play with our adjustments. The adjustments are going to give you a lot of the editing ability that Lightroom would give you with a couple differences. So the first four, brightness and contrast, levels, curves, and then exposure. These four are going to adjust your lighting, your shadows, your highlights, your darks, your lights. You don't need to use brightness and contrast. We're a bit above that. You're probably going to jump into levels and utilize that more often. So I'm going to click on levels, and a window is going to pop up right here, and it has what's called a histogram. It's basically a graph showing you this is how many black pixels you have. This is how many medium pixels you have. This is how many light pixels you have. I don't have a whole lot of white pixels, but I have a lot of light pixels. So this is your graph to show you how many pixels you have. What you can do is you can then change how many pixels you have of each value by sliding these three triangles to the left and the right. So if I take this dark triangle to the left and I slide it to the right, sorry, it's going real slow. Slide it to the right, you'll start to notice that things get darker because I'm saying I want more dark pixels. So I'm sliding it to where there are going to be more dark pixels. If you want more white pixels, I'm going to take that white triangle, slide it to the left, and you're going to get more white pixels. And then in the middle, you'll just slide this to the left to get lighter, to the right to get darker. So this is a way that you are going to adjust the lighting within your image. What you may not have noticed, but over here on the right-hand side, there's another layer there. Whenever you click an adjustment, it creates a new layer for you. What's nice about that is you can go back and edit these layers as you go on. They're not permanent. You can adjust them as you continue forward. Once you're done with this, so let's say that I think this looks fine. This is what I want it to look like. Right here, this double arrow at the top right of this pop-out box, if you click that, it's going to pop back to the right and it's gone. Doesn't mean it's gone forever. It's just gone for now. So I'm happy with the lighting in this image right now. I want to zoom in a little bit. The navigator right here at the top window, there's a slider. I'm going to slide it to the right and I can zoom in on the image. You'll end up having a red box around, which is nice because you can grab that red box and zoom in on different places in the image. So if you're working on a really small area, this is a really great way to zoom into different parts of it. I just like to make my image that's basically about the size of my workspace. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is get into changing our colors. There's a bunch of different ways you can do this. Some of them you're probably already very familiar with. This triangle that's upside down on the top right-hand corner is vibrance. Then we have hue and saturation. Then we have color balance, black and white, photo filter, channel mixer, color lookup. Those are the next ones we're going to look at. Some of them you'll never use. Some of them you'll use a lot. Vibrance. You know what vibrance is. You've played with this in Lightroom. It has a vibrance saturation slider. So vibrance is going to make things almost towards the neon side of stuff. Your saturation is just going to brighten up and give you more color. This image doesn't have a whole lot of color to start with. It's got the blue and the green. So that's why you're not seeing a whole lot of difference here. So that's your vibrance and saturation. The next one is hue and saturation. What's different here than Lightroom is that in Lightroom, you have reds, yellows, greens, cyans, and so on, and you can really only affect those colors within a certain range. So if you were in Lightroom to click on your red pixels and you wanted to change the hue, it takes your red pixels and keeps it within an orange to yellow range. Whereas in Photoshop, you can choose those red pixels and you can go anywhere with them. You don't have to pick orange or yellow. You can go green if you want to. All right, so there's no red pixels in here. Let's go ahead and grab our greens. So in Lightroom, green pixels would stay within a blue-yellow range. In Photoshop, I should be able to pull them into different colors. Okay, no, really no green.